you sign off on this subpoena for 2 months of AP phone records? If you did not, because you were recused in that case, when did you recuse yourself, and to whom did you delegate authority to make that decision? And thirdly, the AP yesterday wrote you a letter calling this a serious infringement on news gathering operations, a violation of the department's own guidelines, and asking you to return those records and destroy all copies. Will you consider doing so?
If I don't remember all the questions, I'm sure you'll come back to me with those. I testified, I guess, back in June 2012 that I'd been interviewed by the FBI in connection with this matter, and to avoid the appearance of a potential conflict of interest, and to make sure that the investigation was seen as independent, I recused myself from this matter. We'll get to you exactly when that happened. It was early on in the investigation. This matter has thereafter been conducted by the U.S. Attorney here in Washington, D.C., under the supervision of the Deputy Attorney General. The Deputy Attorney General would have been the one who ultimately had to authorize the subpoena that went to the AP. Now, I'm not familiar with all that went into the formulation of the subpoena. I was recused from that matter, but I'm confident that the people who are involved in this investigation, who I know for a great many years, who I've worked with for a great many years, followed all of the appropriate Justice Department regulations and did things according to DOJ rules. So I'm sure that might...
Do you understand why people in the news gathering business, such as us, would find this trouble?
Well, as I said, I don't know all that went into the formulation of the subpoena. This was a very serious leak, and a very, very serious leak. I've been a prosecutor since 1976, and I have to say that this is among, if not the most serious, it is within the top 2 or 3 most serious leaks that I've ever seen. It put the American people at risk, and that is not hyperbole. It put the American people at risk, and trying to determine who was responsible for that, I think, required very aggressive action. And as I said, I'm sure that the subpoena, as formulated, based on the people that I know, I don't know about the facts, but based on the people I know, I think that that subpoena was done in conformance with DOJ regs.
Mr. Attorney General, the AP says that it found out about this after the fact, after the records were already taken. Why was no attempt made to seek the AP's voluntary cooperation?
Again, you're getting into matters that are beyond my knowledge. I was recused in the matter, so I don't know.
Comfortable with that approach, because ordinarily, wouldn't protocol require that you would try to approach for voluntary cooperation?
Well, I don't know what the circumstances were here, and so, how things are done in a particular investigation have to be dictated by the facts, and I frankly don't have the knowledge of those facts.
I think the real question here, the underlying question, is the policy of the administration when it comes to the ability of the media to cover the news. And I think the question for you is, given the fact that this news organization was not given an opportunity to try to quash this in court, as has been precedent, it leaves us in the position of wondering whether the administration has somehow decided policy-wise that it's kind of going to go after us.
That is certainly not, I can talk about policy here. That is certainly not the policy of this administration. If you will remember, in 2009, when I was going through my confirmation hearings, I testified in favor of a reporter shield law. We actually, as an administration, took a position in favor of such a law. Didn't get the necessary support up on the Hill. It is something this administration still thinks would be appropriate. We've investigated cases on the basis of the facts, not as a result of a policy to get the press or to do anything of that nature. The facts and the law have dictated our actions in that regard.
You said that it's not hyperbole that this put American lives at risk. If the underlying investigation was basically being run with the knowledge and with the hand of the U.S. government, why was there any risk to Americans when that information came out?
Well, I can't answer that question.
Can you elaborate on your decision to excuse yourself and when you did that?
As I said, towards the beginning of the investigation, and perhaps we can get for you the exact date. I don't know when that was. But as I said, it was because I was one of the people who had knowledge of this matter. I have frequent contact with the media and try to make sure that this investigation was seen as one that was independent and to avoid even the possibility of an appearance of a conflict. I made the determination to recuse myself.
Are you also recused from the Stuxnet investigation?
On the IRS controversy, is there any concern that, on the IRS controversy, is there any concern that criminal laws have been broken, and if so, have you ordered an investigation?
I have ordered an investigation to be begun. The FBI is coordinating with the Justice Department to see if any laws were broken in connection with those matters related to the IRS. Those were, I think, as everyone can agree, if not criminal, they were certainly outrageous and unacceptable, but we are examining the facts to see if there were criminal violations.
When did you order that?
On Friday.
Are you also recused from the Stuxnet investigation out of Maryland?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Holder, with the IRS and AP situation, a lot of Americans say they don't trust the administration right now. What can you say to them that you can ensure that they should trust all of you?
Well, to the extent that we have determined that actors in government have gone beyond what they were supposed to do, broken regulations, broken rules, broken the law, we have prosecuted people. We have held people accountable. We have tried to do things according to the rules. There are going to be people occasionally who will not do so. It is then incumbent upon us who have enforcement responsibilities to make sure that we hold those people accountable. And I think our record shows that over the last 4.5 years we've done that.
The regulations require these subpoenas to be drawn as narrowly as possible. Do you believe that in this case, where there was a 2-month period of 20 different phone lines, is that, in your view, a narrowly drawn request?
One thing I would refer you to, the Deputy Attorney General has written a letter in response to the AP letter. I assume, I don't know if it's been made available yet, but that has a number of factual assertions in it that contradict some of the assertions that were made by the letter that came from the AP. So I would refer you to that with regard to a response to that question.
The AP story, the IRS story, the failure to close Guantanamo, there's a growing sense that this administration's record on civil liberties has not lived up to the promises that you and others made beginning in 2008 and the criticisms of the past administration. Looking broadly at this administration's civil liberties record, are you disappointed, and why hasn't more been done?
I'm proud of what we have done. The policies that we put in place with regard to, let's say, the war on terror. We decided that certain interrogation techniques were not going to be used. We have been, I think, very aggressive in our enforcement of the civil rights laws. There have been a whole host of things that this administration has done, this Justice Department in particular, that are consistent with what I think the President campaigned on and what we promised at the beginning of this administration.
Those changed during the last administration. The President signed executive orders that effectively just continued what had already happened. You mentioned civil rights laws, but there are so many other examples where people are disappointed in this administration's civil liberties record, both on the left and the right. Do you need to change course, and aren't you trampling on civil liberties the same way the Bush administration did?
No, we're not. This administration has put a real value on the rule of law and our values as Americans. I think the actions that we have taken are consistent with both. If one looks at, in a dispassionate way, what we have done in a whole variety of areas, I found a moribund civil rights division. And that is a division now that has brought record numbers of cases, protected record numbers of people. I would take issue with you with regard to how we have conducted the war on terror, and with regard to interrogation policies. There were changes made by this administration, a repudiation of OLC opinions that existed when we came into office. So we're talking about, I think, changes that were consistent with, as I said, what the President campaigned on and what we talked about early on. Carrie?
Expressed some concern about lack of transparency with regard to the administration's drone program and promised more transparency. What are you going to do about that?
Yeah, we are in the process of speaking to that. I made a promise. That's a promise that I think will be kept, both by me and by the president in a relatively short period of time. We have a rollout that will be happening relatively soon.
Attorney General, the phone records in the AP case, the notification spoke to phone records because
there's a growing sense that this administration's record on civil liberties has not lived up to the promises that you and others made beginning in 2008 and the criticisms of the past administration. Looking broadly at this administration's civil liberties record, are you disappointed, and why hasn't more been done?
I'm proud of what we have done. The policies that we put in place with regard to, let's say, the war on terror. We decided that certain interrogation techniques were not going to be used. We have been, I think, very aggressive in our enforcement of the civil rights laws.
Twice as many leakers as every previous administration combined. How does that reflect balance?
I would say that the president is committed to the press's ability to pursue information, to defending the First Amendment. He is also, as a citizen and as Commander-in-Chief, committed to the proposition that we cannot allow classified information to be that can do harm to our national security interests or to endanger individuals to be leaked, and that is a balance that has to be struck.
But the record of the last 4 years does not suggest balance.
That's your opinion, Ari, but
it's twice as many prosecutions as all previous administrations combined. That's not even close.